Hello and welcome to the Thread to MEND podcast. My name is Taylor and I'm coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland, and this is a fiber podcast where I most often talk about things that I've been knitting or spinning, sewing, etc. I have this week two things I want to focus on for the most part, and they are my recent stash acquisitions, which I'm just going to show you so that in case you're interested in these things, you might have a better kind of understanding before buying. And then a lacework project I'm knitting, and I happen to be wearing a dress that I sewed myself. So I'll get into that too. I've never sewn a dress before, so that's pretty exciting. The first thing I'm going to get into is my first purchase from Jameson and Smith. I look like I'm in pain because I have in front of me all the Shetland 2-ply fingering weight yarn I have in stash, and I guess I feel a little overwhelmed by it. I did it to myself. I bought all the things. It's just that I don't know exactly what they're all going to become, and whenever I take in new yarn, I want to have an intention for it, like a clear intention. So I often shop for patterns, and then I shop for yarn for patterns. A few months ago, I bought this pattern by Ella Gordon. It's the Ola yoke, and I just absolutely fell in love with this pattern. I fell in love with Ella. She's just so stinking cute, and I love her podcast. I wish that she recorded more. I think she should, because I kind of want to know like what is going on over there in Shetland. So I immediately bought the pattern, I think like the day after it was released, roughly, and then I bought the yarn right away. And when the yarn arrived, it didn't, like, I wasn't jazzed. You know how yarn kind of like looks different online, and then you get it, and then it's like you clearly see what it is. And I mean, I still love this yoke. I still love everything about it, but I just started hesitating. Like, I didn't want to cast on this project. It's always pushed to the back burner in terms of new cast-ons, and I thought that maybe I just needed new yoke colors, because I'm not sure that there's any way I'm going to get through knitting the body of a stockinette fingering weight sweater in black without excitement for the yoke. So here are the yoke colors that arrived. I guess, well, if you want to know the shades, they're in the pattern details on Ravelry. So if you go to the Ola yoke pattern by Ella Gordon on Ravelry, you'll find the color shade numbers for these. You know, in this moment right now that everything's out in front of me and I'm thinking clearly, I don't know that I won't knit that yoke sweater. I know the answer is to knit a swatch and make it a decision from there, but I'm just not going to do that. That's just who I am. I would rather choose colors that are inspiring. And so I made a purchase of more yarn I've never seen in person, which I don't often do. But I knew that if I invest a little bit of money into Jameson and Smith, I won't be disappointed. So, and there's endless possibilities with colors in color work. I have older stash. I don't know what I mean by older, but I have yarn that's also 2-ply fingering weight in my stash that I brought out that I just also wasn't thrilled about using for the yoke, and it's even more bright and contrasty, and I was afraid that sweater yoke colors were more bright and less muted, which is kind of where I feel like I'm shifting in terms of my aesthetic. Like I have a lot of high contrast in my environment and my life, and I'm like kind of dialing it down a notch because I want everything I own to be worn together. I want a really cohesive wardrobe so I can pick up anything I own and put it on and be dressed. Although I enjoy making garments and filling my wardrobe with garments, I'm not, like, I don't want something that will feel like on a trend that I'll grow out of in like a year. I want everything that I take in and create to be something that I want to last forever. And I knew that I might get tired of these colors if they're not like my colors. So that's what inspired me to buy a basket of Jameson and Smith 2-ply fingering weight 25 gram balls. And I have those here on my lap. And I haven't even really looked at them closely. I pretty much put them in this basket and then plan to talk to you all about them. It's not often I buy things, and so when I take something in, if I'm not in love with it and have a use for it right away, I stop and I'm like thinking to myself, why did I do this? So, I'm trying to just feel that, observe my feelings, be okay with what they are, and then discern, like, where do I go from here? I know that this, what feels like huge, and I'm sure for some people out there is not at all huge, or maybe it is, but I'm sure that this stash can all be worked into projects that I will complete in my lifetime, and so I don't need to worry. And I love all these new colors so much, and I love them together. I don't know how they're going to work with anything else in my stash here. So I'm just going to show you these a few at a time, and that way if you want to ever shop at the Jameson and Smith website, you'll kind of have a more clear image of exactly how things look in real life rather than a stock photo. I think the reason why I'm having such a hard time addressing like what I bought right here in front of me is because when I buy one thing for myself, I go back the next day and buy another thing, and then I go back the next day and I buy another thing, and I might go back and buy another thing, and I just spend my money all at once, and then I save it up again, and then I spend it again, and I save it up again, and I spend it again. I kind of have this habit of managing my finances where I pay all the things, and all the things are paid, and then whatever is left over, I maintain a reserve, and if I'm above that by a little, I just spend it. So that's sort of just what's happened recently. And I bought a backpack, and I love the stock photos. Stock photos are always going to show you how it looks, maybe how it looks best. And so I went on YouTube and I was like searching reviews, I guess, of this backpack, and I could see like, oh, okay, how big is it relative to this or that? Is this color true? How does this color look in the context of other environments? I really rely on YouTube to know what colors and objects look like in real life, so I might be doing that for you now. Now, I didn't show you this yet, but I did buy the body yarn in a cone. So the main body of my sweater will still be black. It's a heathered black. And there you can see it up close. Not sure if that's focusing, but you get the idea. I'm going to hold each of these skeins of yarn up to the camera closely so that you can see their color definition clearly in sort of plain light. The first is shade 202. This is a heathered ivory and kind of a bone color blend. This is shade 1281. It is a blend of kind of a khaki and a salmony peach color. It looks probably a little more khaki in this lighting because it's cooler lighting coming from the sun. I would categorize this as like a warm shade, kind of a warmer neutral. This is shade 2. And I'll just show you these together. So you can see that shade 2 is rather cool. This shade 202 in the middle is rather neutral but semi-warm neutral, and then on the end you have a very warm, soft brown. I also have in front of me shade 3, and I'll give you a close-up of that. It's sort of a dusty mauve color, and you can see it's a little more pinkish than the one on the end. So we have here shade 1281 and shade 3. And these are shades 2 and 3 on the end. Shade 2, shade 3. Okay. I have also, my end got shade 78. And you can see that shade 3 and 78, these have a really nice kind of gradient look to them. Shade FC7 is a corally salmon. It's a salmon. It's a true heathered salmon. Very cute. It's a very nice muted bright. This is shade 32. This is one of the few that I've purchased recently that is not at all heathered. I think it might be the only shade I bought today that is not heathered. Shade 122 is kind of a coppery, it's sort of red and yellow fibers mixed to appear like a deep burnt orange or kind of a dark clay. And this one's it will probably knit into a very nice background color, but it's not my favorite. It's called 64, and it is pink and blue blended, so it makes a gray, but it's a very, I don't know, pink and blue are just not my colors. Personally, I think that I still like this yarn, I'll kind of like hide it. It's not something that would ever be like a focal point of my aesthetic. So I have 3 more. This one is kind of a darker version of what I just showed you. It's shade FC56, and it's a blend of navy blue, yellow, and red. And it is it reads brownish black. I have 2 more. They're both green, so of course they make me happy. I am surprised I didn't buy more green, but I was shopping for neutrals and things that I thought would blend together well. This one is FC44. It is kind of black, brown, and yellow blended to make a deep olive green. And then this one is shade FC12. It is my soul color green. It's yellow and green and a little bit of red blended to a really nice heathered bright green shade. And I think that if I were to buy a cone of Jameson and Smith 2-ply fingering for another sweater, like if I could choose my own complete color palette, I would definitely make the body of the sweater shade FC44. It's the second to last one I showed you. It's just kind of a warmer version of this. And I would probably pair it with neutrals that are not brown, not on the brown side, but maybe neutrals that are on the like pinker side. Like I love pink and dark green together. Although this is like the pinkest I would get. This is hardly even, I mean, it's salmon. It looks like uncooked salmon. So I don't even really mentally like categorize this as a true pink. So yeah. For the yoke to this yarn, I don't know which of these colors I would use. If I were to guess really quick, like haven't even thought of this yet, I would replace maybe the white with the cream color, shade 202, which I think needs a smooth transition to replace the yellow. I would perhaps go for this kind of darker gray yellow, and here is where you blend from this into this, so that gradient's almost even more important than gradiating from neutral. So it could be that I do like these three together instead of these three together. And then in the original design, okay, it's getting to the point where I can't hold it all. I could go in a lot of directions here. Now, I hesitate to put that pinky salmon color. Let's hold these up right here. Can I get all the labels to face out? Whee! Okay. If you hear someone talking, it's my neighbor letting out their dog. So yeah, I think that this is cute. So there's one more color I need in this yoke, and it's one. So in the original, we had blue on the other end of white. So it's kind of like light blending into warm. So I would maybe do the black and then the high contrast of the light gray to black blending with the white, and then the warms. And then this is sort of the wild card. This is like really peachy, and I don't feel like the design, well, it does need something that bounces off of this really well. And I think that could be this instead. So if I want it to be super muted and neutral, I think that this would make a really good palette. And I'm thinking of doing that. I have about 500 grams of leftover colors, each 25 grams. So that could be enough yarn to knit a whole garment. And it's possible I could do something like that. I think it's hard to look at colors together when they're not in the same form. So, and then there's like colors that are heathered and colors that aren't heathered. And I have that hand spun skein. Anyway, I'm swimming in Shetland yarn, and I don't even know when I'm going to cast this on. I just wanted to buy stuff and relieve my stress, and it looks like it's stressing me out more than one would think. So that's a recent stash acquisition. I hope I get to show that to you eventually. Oh, I have another acquisition to show you. I was watching a recent video on the Christy Glass Knits channel, and she had shown that in her project bag she keeps a bar of this hand cream, this color, or this fragrance that she had is Hookah Girl, Hookah, Hookah, and she's like, oh my god, it's so good. And so I was like, I love Christy. I want to smell the thing that she's smelling. And so I just went straight, like at 7 a.m., I went straight to their website and I bought this hand cream. It's not even really something I think I would gravitate towards in the real life. But it's a really nostalgic smell for me. Something in my childhood smelled like this, and I can't pinpoint what it was, but it's very feminine and clean, which I don't think anyone would describe me as very feminine or clean. But I didn't just buy that. I also bought another bar. These are the small size. So the big bars are body bars. I think they're like $15 and they're like 3 ounces. This is 0.8 ounces and I paid $8 a piece for these. If they cost more than that, I probably wouldn't have bought it. And to be honest, I should have only bought samples because I didn't know what I was smelling. Like I couldn't smell it before I bought it. This is Vanilla Moon. And it is, I put it on my hands the other day, and it smells like a perfume counter / sunscreen. And I'm not in love with it. These are kind of like solid perfumes more than they're moisturizing. They're very kind of fragrancy. They're not I get the sense that the principle is that it's fragrance and not moisture, which is something I need. I do reapply this a lot sooner than any other hand balm that I own. Those are not the only ones that I bought though. I did buy samples. The samples are $2.50 a piece, and I ordered 6. When you buy 6, you get 1 free. And there's one somewhere that I must have tucked it in a bag somewhere. I also bought Deep Forest, which I couldn't tell by just putting my nose up to it the first time. But when I put it on today, it is like Christmas tree candle smell. So if you love like Christmas tree candle smell, you would want to buy the Deep Forest, if any. I got for a free sample Tea Party, which is really clean smelling, a little fancy. I also bought Highlander, which is, I just put that stuff on, so I can't put this on to tell you what it smells like, but it oh my god, it smells like a kind of masculine cologne-y smell. Tomboy, I'm not even gonna open this. Tomboy, it's like Axe body spray. I'm actually probably throwing that one away because I can't even go there. Sunshine is a lot like Vanilla Moon, but a little more citrus. And I think of all of them, actually this is one I haven't really broken into yet. They smell a little different when you really break the surface because they're very fragrant. The surface kind of like wears off. Okay, I like this. Sunshine, it reminds me of, it's a very sweet lemon smell. So it's kind of vanilla, but more lemon. So it's a sweet citrus. Sunshine. If I were to buy, which I might, because I like smell good stuff. But to be honest, like I have other balms that are not smell good, that are just like moisturizing, and those do my hands a little better justice. So this would make a really good summer hand balm, whereas I'm sticking to my old ones this winter. I will buy a Sunshine Lolo Love bar, especially if I see one in person. If they're at Rhinebeck or some festival that I go to, I will get a Sunshine Lolo. I don't know if I'll pay for shipping to buy more for now. I still have a sample to work through. And then the one I've been using the most is what they call Dirty Claudette. As you can guess, it's like patchouli. Like I said, people probably don't describe me as clean because I wear like natural smelling things. I don't wear a lot of fragrance things. In fact, fragrance things kind of aggravate me. I put on the Vanilla Moon, which sounds like, I don't know, Vanilla Moon. It sounds so good. I don't know what is vanilla or moony about this. It smells... Anyway, it smells like suntan lotion. It's like sun. Anyway. I put this on before going into Joann Fabrics, which is stressful enough. And every time I'm in that store, I want to fix things and make them neater. It's visually overstimulating, and I had on this sensory, it just was overstimulating. And yeah, Sunshine. I like that. Lemon, sugary lemon. Maybe I should, did I put this on already? I don't know. Yeah, it's a good summer one. Okay. Did I come off as really neurotic just then? I mean, spending $36 on hand cream that I've never smelled before. It's just not right. It's not like me. It is completely like me, but I think I might have already mentioned, I mostly save all my money, and then every once in a while I spend all my money. By all, I mean just some. This is new. I made this the other day on impulse. I saw a bag like this in a photo on Instagram. They weren't selling them. I looked at their website. They didn't have any for sale. I don't know if they ever sold them or if it was just something that they bought and were showing off. But I was like, that would be fun to do today. I just finished sewing this dress the day before, and I thought, why not just keep sewing? Because I never really do that. I'm actually pretty proud of this project bag because I feel like I executed things really well, and there's just one thing I would change. Or two things, rather. But the change, it's not as if the thing I'm improving is all that bad. So I constructed this by laying out my fabric and determining how it would be folded. So if you had a rectangle like this, sorry Ella, I'm going to fold your face. How about, well, it makes more sense that way. So if I had a rectangle like this, I would lay the zipper down the front and then fold the corners in and sew the zipper on and then fold it kind of like this. And I'm not going to crease my thing even more. Maybe I should. Anyway, you make a little cube, little triangle cube. Not a cube, but a pyramid. Yeah, pyramid. So I did the zipper, and then I did this, and I did do French seams. So I first sewed the outside edges, right sides facing out, and then flipped it inside out and sewed another seam, folding the raw edges in. So when you open the bag, there are no raw edges inside without using bias tape, which is just more work or more expensive. The zipper I used is 7 inches. I feel like this is a nice, small, compact size, but also gives me the freedom to fit an entire skein. Sometimes when I'm knitting socks, even though I'm just knitting one at a time, I carry the second sock with me because I want to make sure that the cuffs are the same length, or the calf of the sock is the same length before I, knit the second heel. I might have done the heel on the first sock, but I constantly compare the second sock to the first sock to make sure I'm putting my heel in at the right time, because I don't want them to be different sizes. Now I have I don't have small hands, but I'm a small person and I have small wrists. So this is actually the first time I fit this around my wrist. It does take kind of a little bit of gentle maneuvering, and I'm not stressing my hand out, I'm just making it limp. But to get that over the wrist, which I think if I were to ever make these to sell, which I'm thinking about doing, I would make this handle just a little bit bigger. But at the same time, I also like that it can hang off my hand like this, so that the bag is just that much closer to my hand. It's not like I have to position my hand in a way where it won't fall out of my hand. I don't know if that's a thing. But I leave the zipper zipped a couple inches so that it creates this nice little hammock for my yarn. I know it won't fall out. And I often knit on these little 9-inch circular needles. So I would hold the yarn in my palm. I would hold the bag in my palm and then knit, just suspending the ball, so that I can knit standing or knit while walking or what have you. This sock I just cast on the other day, it is, I'll just put the name of the yarn below. I don't have the tag downstairs with me, but it is a 4-ply yarn knit in green and teal and speckles of red. I had no idea how this yarn was going to turn out. I split it into two 50-gram skeins, and I just started knitting the cuff of a sock. This is the first sock I'm knitting on size 0 needles. I cast on 64 stitches because that seems pretty standard for some people. I trust that when I take it off the needle, it'll stretch over my heel. And I really enjoy the way that there's very little for you to see, but I'm really enjoying the way that it knits up. Here, maybe if I show you, I just think that's really nice. It's kind of like subtle striping of the teal. You can see the stitches on my needle right now. There's a lot of teal, and on the opposite side too, there's sort of like a 1-row teal stripe. So I'm guessing that the skein, it's like a half and half skein. I hope it stripes and doesn't color pool. I am planning to knit the afterthought heels on this sock, but I don't know which yarn I'm going to use if I do a contrast heel and toe. This yarn is like straight sock yarn. I don't think that I would knit anything else with this yarn other than a sock, because it just doesn't have a lot of elasticity. I'm holding it just gently taut, and then when I pull it, it's just can you see there's just not a lot of elasticity here. So that was a tangent. The thing that I'm going to change about this project, also, let me just say, I'm really impressed with how I was able to get this pretty clean. I am not a professional seamstress. I have a little end to trim there, but it just came out decent. I did a decent job. So this kind of handle was, I don't know why it was such an afterthought. I think I was I'm just gonna assemble it and then I'll squeeze the handle in at the end. There are often this little tab of fabric that covers the top of the zipper, and for some reason, even though I had the little piece cut out, I had pressed it wrong. I pressed it differently than I ought to have, and I couldn't figure out how to incorporate it into the design of this bag the way I had it pressed. While I was sleeping that night, I was oh yeah, not sleeping, but in bed. I was like, oh yeah, that's how I should have pressed the thing, and then I would have put it on like that, and blah blah blah. So next time I'm gonna put that little tab of fabric there so that it closes off this French seam from the outside. So it'll just kind of tuck that in to bed on the inside. And then the handle, I don't know if I like it as it is with the angle. I think that it should be a little bit longer and it should be in at an angle. So if I cut the fabric at an angle and put it in to the same, in the seam the same way, it'll just be more upright and less kind of pointing back. It'll be more like this. At the same time, I'm okay with the way that bag hangs off like this, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna do that though because it seems like, I'm not sure. I think that probably, well, if someone has a bigger hand than me, they might get frustrated that they can't get this over their hand easily. So it should maybe be a little longer. The reason I hesitate to just make the strap longer is that when I cut the rectangle of fabric, I cut it a little too long. And so I ended up stripping 1 inch off and then another inch off. And I had these 2 1-inch strips that were the same length as the bag fabric. And so it just works out well that that fits. In terms of like maybe creating a sewing pattern. Thing is, I know that this isn't an original design. I saw a bag like it and made my own, but people have probably been making bags like this forever. So if I wrote up instructions, it would be as a free thing. And again, I don't know if people, I don't know, it's kind of like a thing most people can figure out if they do sew and if they're gonna sew. I did. I even bought, so I was like, maybe I can make some of these bags and sell them on Etsy and have fun doing that. Also making money to feed my feral cat colony, because one time a year I'll like hustle to make things and sell them to people I know, and that gives me a little bit of boost for my cat food. I feed now only 7 feral cats in a colony behind my house here in Baltimore City, and I spend about $37 a month on food. So in the course of a year, like, I don't want to know what 37 times 12 is, but that's how much I spend a year on cats that are not even my own pets, so much as I just make sure that they eat twice a day. So I'm thinking about making these little sock project bags and posting them for sale online. Because they don't take me a ton of time to whip up, I think that I want to make them really affordable for anyone who wants a project bag to be able to buy themselves one, rather than something that they feel they need to like save up for and put off till later. So I do plan to make more of these, also to use up some of my stash of fabric. I have a small stash of fabric and it's just sitting there and it should get put to use. It's not a quantity of the same fabric that I would want to knit, sew into something like a quilt. So it really just needs to be sewn. So yeah, I really love this bag. It's small. I throw it in my tote bag when I leave the house, so I know I have an easy knit project. And I'm really glad to have something very compact to put a single skein project in, especially when most of the time I'm carrying around a single skein project. It's only 50 grams of yarn because I split my yarn to make 2 socks. I knit socks 2 at a time on 9-inch circulars, and so the 9-inch circulars I did test. In fact, I actually put a 1 skein project in this bag to see if it would work, and I was able to fit this project. Of course I had to smush it, but these are not even, are they? These might be my shorts. I don't have my measuring tape in front of me to know if these are my shorter needles or my longer needles. But I was able to fit my needles on like a 24 or 32 inch circular needle in this bag without a problem. I think that even if they were the longer version of knitting needles I have, they would still fit with ease. So any single skein project can fit in this, which is cool, and why I bought more zippers of the same size rather than smaller, because this 50 grams has some room. So this project is the Tegna. I hope that's how you pronounce it, because I wouldn't know otherwise. It's not a sweater, it's like a short sleeve sweater. It's the first lace thing I've ever knit, and holy smokes, this is a learning experience. I'm having a lot of fun working on this, but I'm also making a lot of mistakes, and I've learned how to fix all of them, which has really built up my kind of like knowledge of knitting. Like I just feel like I feel like I could go in and fix almost anything now that I made a mistake in somewhere, because I've made a lot of mistakes. Sometimes, like this morning, for instance, I started knitting the next row and I realized that doesn't work. Let me just show you. I know that you don't probably know what it's supposed to look like if you didn't buy the pattern or you're not knitting it right now, but you see how these yarn over holes, put it in contrast to my face right now, these are yarn over holes, and now this, it doesn't continue. I'm like, ooh, I made a mistake right there. So I dropped down and I couldn't figure out, I don't know what happened. I just kept dropping down like 5 or 6 rows and I fixed like that section. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go down 5 or 6 rows every section now. And so I did that again, and then I went down like 6 or 7 rows, and I was like, okay, how badly did I mess this up, and exactly where did I? And I'm like, oh, I only messed up the last row I knit the same row twice. And so now I know, and I did already, just go back 1 row and rip that out, re-knit the last row, and then keep going. When you are lace knitting, you know that whatever you need to do between your stitch markers is exactly X number of stitches. And so as long as you have X number of stitches, you're fine. If you have to rip out that whole section and re-knit it, it's gonna roughly be the same gauge because you're not adding or subtracting any stitches. So you shouldn't feel scared to rip back 1 section at a time, a whole row, and maybe another row, and another row, and another row, until you feel like you can see the stitches you need of 1 row and pick them all up again. And then read those stitches and look at your chart. You can organize all the threads you pulled back in order so you can see which strand you should pick up and knit from next. And as long as you count your stitches, you know you have the right number of stitches across your needle. As long as you can read the row that you just picked up and find it on your chart, you just isolate the next string that you would have over on your right side, pick that up, drop the rest behind, and knit that row in that 1 section. And then put the stitches back on the left needle, find the next string for the next row, and then knit the next row according to your chart. So I know I had shown on Instagram like a week or so ago that I was doing lace surgery. I've done lace surgery like 5 times on this project, at least, probably more. And at least one of those times I had to do that surgery the whole way around the sweater. So I've been working on this thing a lot. I think you could probably tell because I did put a stitch marker in place to show where I was last week. So about when I showed this off to you before, I was about here, and I've knit up through there. This stitch marker was a lost earring at the yoga studio, and I repurposed it because I thought that jasper was pretty cool looking. So this is coming along Hopefully before work today, I'll be able to reknit the previous row and then finish up the chart. I'm using the chart on my iPad, so I can't tell you exactly how many rows I have left to do, but I'm very close to the end. I think I'm on my last yarn over decrease row, and then I have just maybe some purls to do in the future. So that is exciting. I can't wait to get to the stockinette portion of that, so I can kind of revisit my brioche shawl and get that more cerebral knitting from that project, and finish lace. I have one more thing I did. Well, I haven't shown you my dress yet, but I made a tiny little toolkit. I had this little velvet sachet lying around in a drawer, and I had it set aside with a few notions in it, and I said to myself, why don't I not just fill this up with everything I could possibly need and then have it available near the front door, so that if I'm running out of the house, I can grab this pouch and know that I'm not leaving without a measuring tape or stitch markers or what have you. So I'm just going to open this up and show you what's inside. You can see on the strings I have stitch markers here. I have at least 10 or 13 or 14, and a few of them I have put a bead on. This is an actual cutting of hematite, so it won't fade. And I put those on a few because sometimes I need a beginning of row marker that I can distinguish from the next one. So I just have 3 of those on there. And then on the other side I have progress keepers. This is another one I made from a reclaimed earring that I found. It actually had a ton of little leaves on it, so I have more I could make. But I don't have matching joinery. I only have the brass right now. Okay, so first inside are those little end caps and a tightener for my interchangeable knitting needles. I have some hand spun waste yarn. Actually, probably should get a different waste yarn that's a little more smooth, because I could see this area leaving fibers in there, but I kind of hold on to all my hand spun bits a lot longer than some others because they're a little special. And they're also really sturdy. So I have some waste yarn. This is BFL fiber. A darning needle. Tiny measuring tape. I think it's accurate. I should check it against one of my other ones. And a row counter. I think the only thing that's not in here, and I had that missing little hand cream. This is the bergamot, and it's probably the most natural smelling cream. It just smells kind of like cream. So I think the only thing in here that I don't have is a pair of scissors, but it's not often I need scissors, like on the go. I really only need scissors when I'm weaving in all my ends, and I don't have a lot of projects where I weave ends in along the way. Even if I did weave ends in along the way, I would intentionally leave them unsnipped so that they can kind of, the yarn ends can kind of get comfortable where they are and settle in, and then right at the end, days or weeks later, snip off the threads that are still poking out. So that's a little kit that I made for myself, and that way I can just toss it into any bag I need, and it's there, and it'll even fit comfortably in here should I need that. It's possible I could be doing a more complicated sock pattern and need a row counter, or want to measure my calf, or what have you. So I like having a tiny little pouch like this. It also matches this. I don't have a lot of black in my life, so I'm not going to tuck that in there because I know I don't need it. Did I tell you that I slid that hand cream back in? I even have hand cream in here. I love that. If there's any reason to go out of your way to buy this brand, I know I did go into how fragrancy it is and how I'm not that type of person. It is really nice to have these little dispensers of tiny amounts of cream so you can have them in every corner of your life. So I am psyched on that. You saw how not long ago I put this hand cream on, and I feel like I need more hand cream. Oh, the last thing I have to show you is what I'm wearing. It is a dress that I sewed this weekend. I've been sewing it the last few weeks. It was on hold for a short period of time because I had to buy more bobbins for my new machine. My friend gave me her old sewing machine and a box of notions, and I gave my machine, which was like a $150 Brother electronic sewing machine, I gave to a friend, and all these like notions along with it, and I think I might have given her all the bobbins to my new machine, even though she doesn't need that size bobbin. Like, I still have all my old size bobbins, so that was a mess. And I just bought more and finished this project. So it's the first dress I've ever knit. I did once try sewing a dress, and I never finished that project because I got hung up on sewing what I could now sew. It's actually this piece, a piece like this. On my old machine, that was like impossible. I know that a poor craftsman blames their tools, but when it comes to sewing, like the difference between a high-end machine and like a lower-end machine is like huge. And so I feel like this machine allows me to do more things. So I'll just stand up and see if I can get it in the frame. It's pretty wrinkly, and if that bothers you, deal with it. You're not wearing this dress, so it really shouldn't matter. It has pockets at your hands, or for your hands here on the sides, and it's reversible, so I can flip it inside out, and I'm just going to insert a video of me wearing it the other way here. And you can see that side had pockets on the front. I really do prefer pockets on the sides like this. So I don't know that, so when I bought this fabric, I also bought fabric to make another dress, assuming I would love it. I do love this dress. It is heavy. When you pick it up and hold it, it weighs more than anything else that I own, pretty much. For being a small dress, a short dress. It does feel kind of bulky where the pockets are. And I think that even if just the pocket fabric were a lighter weight, it would look and feel much better, less bulky on the inside. And the fabric I bought, it was like Robert Kaufman. It's a 50-50 linen cotton blend. It, I think, is great for a one-layered dress. I think that I'm going to sew this dress without it being reversible. Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to wear this dress for a while and see how it softens up and determine then what I'm going to do. I might also look through my stash for a contrast. I know I don't have enough yardage for a different color or different fabric to sew into this project, but I think that this dress would feel really nice in a 100% linen fabric. I personally don't like to wear polyester or rayon or any kind of synthetic fabric because although this is wrinkled a little bit. It's wrinkled because I had it thrown into a basket overnight. And if I had thrown a synthetic fiber into a basket overnight, it would be like sharp wrinkles, and I don't iron my clothes. I also find that synthetic fibers carry smell, like body smell, longer and to a more fragrant degree quicker. So I stick to natural fibers for my clothing from now on, outside of leggings that I wear for work. So if I were to start fresh with with sewing this project again, I would get a medium weight for one layer and a lightweight for the other. Because the bodice has 2 layers, you could go with 2 lightweight layers. I think I like the sturdiness of a medium weight layer. And it's possible that when summer comes around, I might find this dress, although it's airy, I might find it too hot, and I might wish that I had a lighter weight version. I like that I can layer long sleeve shirts comfortably underneath, or maybe even t-shirts if I want to. I don't know if I'll like the look of it without a shirt underneath it, but it's like too cold to even try. I'm not gonna go there until I need to. The drawback about using a lighter weight fabric is not a lot of lightweight fabrics are double-sided. And if you want to make this dress reversible as it's designed, you need to have at least your bottom layer, which I'm wearing on the outside today, that has to be double-sided. So you could certainly make this dress with a lightweight fabric that doesn't have, with one of the 2 fabrics not being double-sided, and no one would know. That would be the side with the pockets on the front. So, and it's also anyway. So that is everything I have to show you this week. I want to thank you so much for watching if you made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It does brighten my day to see that there are people wanting to hear what I think about things, I guess. I don't know, like, it just yarn stuff. Let's do it. And please give this video a like if you liked it. And thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day.